Hey people, and welcome to Techlore. Today I have a special guest with us. His name is Abdullah, and he helps work on Notesnook, which is a private and secure note-taking alternative to things like Evernote. And I wanted to go ahead and ask him some questions about the service, and we're just grateful to have you here so you can talk about what you're trying to offer people.
Yeah, I'm really glad to be here as well, and yeah, this is really exciting for me. So yeah,
Yeah. And so today we're going to go through your service, kind of ask you questions about the history of the service, the privacy and security side of things, and just kind of what you're trying to offer the community. And then if there's any other questions along the way, then I'll be sure to ask those. So first, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and history about yourself and why you developed the service, or really anything you want to share.
okay. So my beginnings in the technology sphere in this whole space is like really early. I started programming when I was like in eighth grade or something, and it has been going on for like 10 to 12 years. So I've been doing this for quite a bit of time, and. Uh, My initial starting was with like I started with C sharp and then I changed languages and now I am like I then shifted to JavaScript and all that. So this initial idea of starting a startup like Notesnook, it didn't come up until like I passed like from high school and yeah, like that's a little bit about me. Uh, yeah.
And how'd that all lead? So it's cool that you have that much experience. And how did it lead into the development of Notesnook? What made you want to decide to work on Notesnook specifically over any other project?
Okay. Yeah.
And how did you get it started?
Okay,
And where
so
are you at
so
now,
yeah,
I guess?
I'm actually a fan of privacy. It's weird to say fan of privacy, but like I'm always looking into all these private projects. Like I was following Signal when it started. I was following Brave when it started, and I am actually I don't have any personal accounts. I closed out all my accounts on all the social medias because of this privacy issue. So that's how like I had this in the back of my mind like how I wanted the world to look like. So when the opportunity came to me, the first thing that popped into my mind, I was like, okay, so what's the space where I can make the most difference? And we took a couple of options. First, there was obviously like a messaging app, like a Signal app, like WhatsApp and stuff like that. So but as you already know, when we started in like in 2020, it was like that space was filled up. And we saw this little gap in the note-taking space where, you know, we could express ourselves and like say to the world, okay, so privacy doesn't have to suck. It doesn't have to be like you have to compromise and you have to lose all these features and then get privacy and you know all that. So we started out Notesnook with the initial idea that uh, privacy does not have to come with any compromises. So we looked into like Stutter Notes and we looked into a lot of a couple of other apps like that were like uh, that were positioning themselves as private. And then we were inspired by them, but we also saw a little bit of like, okay, they're doing it this way, they're saying we're private, we're this and that. But let's like give normal users, like users who are not so much used to privacy or who say, okay, I don't get this. This is too techy. This is too nerdy. Like let's give them uh, an app where they can come and they can do what they're used to doing in the way they're used to doing without any compromise on their privacy. So yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. It's a big issue because there's a lot of oversaturated things in the privacy space, which when you said the messengers, I'm like, oh my God, were they going to build a messenger? Because the last thing we need is
Yeah,
another
exactly.
private secure messenger. So I'm really glad you didn't go that direction, because there's so many great options already, that all
Yeah,
fill different threat models in different ways. And it's fantastic. It's cool that we're in that position.
absolutely.
Um, so, Yeah, so I'm glad you went that direction personally, and I really like that you kind of were inspired by those other projects, and it led you to develop what you have today. And so you said we. So who is Notesnook? Is there a team? Is it who are who are you and your
Okay,
comrades?
so we like the whole team behind Notesnook is like three brothers. Like me, there's Amar, and there's Ali, and we all started out together. It was like from the very first line of code to this day, we're all doing this together, and we all care a lot about user privacy. Like this, before we add any feature, before we add any single line of code, the first question that pops into our mind is like, is this going to affect user privacy? Can we do this in a way that doesn't compromise on users' privacy? So yeah.
Got it. Um, and so I think a big question that a lot of people have. We're gonna pivot more into the technical side of things.
Yeah.
Um, End-to-end encryption in notes. There are some inherent limitations for features because of end-to-end encryption that I'm sure that you can talk about. So why is end-to-end encryption important in notes? Why is it something that you're implementing, and what kind of challenges have come up because of it?
Okay, so obviously the first challenge with any kind of end-to-end encryption is like you have to do everything on the client side. You don't have a lot of computing power. You don't have a lot of like a lot of space where you can make mistakes. So if you are doing if there's no privacy, let me just explain this in that way. Like if there's no if you're not encrypting anything, you can manipulate the data. You can do whatever you like with it without like users won't even know that something is happening. Like for example, Google has all our data, right? Like whatever we do, they collect it and they store it, and then they do whatever we want with whatever they want with it. So, but we don't have any idea what they're doing. It doesn't affect any particular user experience. It doesn't do anything. But when you come to the end-to-end encrypted side, you have to take care of things on the user's device because everything is encrypted. Like if I'm sitting there, I can open up the database and everything is just gibberish. And I don't know who wrote the note. I don't know what they wrote in it, what the title of the note is, well, when they wrote it. Is it a favorite? Did they like put it into which notebook? I have like we have literally no idea. So the biggest challenge in that is like if you made a mistake in the initial design, which obviously everyone does, like nobody's perfect. So whenever you're trying to correct that mistake, you have to do it on each and every person's device, and you have no surety, no guarantee that it's going to spread to every single device. Like if for example, if there's a user who hasn't logged in for the last 6 months, they will they will be like on a very outdated version of Notesnook, and we have moved forward. Now, when they log in, we have made a lot of changes and they have to go through this migration process, and which will cause there is potential of problems there. Like it decreases the reliability part of things. So yeah, that's like the biggest problem. The second is like you don't have a lot of computing power. So for example, if you have an idea like AI, or you want to like train models, you want to do OCR, like that is a problem I am like regularly looking into, like doing the OCR, like reading text from images from PDFs right on the user's device and storing it in the user's device and then uploading it. And that problem is like really complex to do on a user's device because not everyone has like a supercomputer where they can train the model, where they can like do things like that. So like we have to, whenever we add a feature, we have to always keep in mind that we can't change it. We can't change it a lot. Like we have to, like the initial design needs to be strong. It needs to be quite like we need to be certain like this is not a prototype. If we are going to launch a prototype, it will fall apart right away.
Got it. Thanks for clearing that up. And I guess my question, this probably isn't something that a lot of our main audience will be asking, but someone who's using Evernote or any other software that I don't believe is end-to-end encrypted, why should they want end-to-end encrypted notes in the first place? Why is that important?
Okay, so like this is not a problem specific to nodes. Like I won't say, okay, so you can leave all your data open, but just keep your notes safe. No, no, like that won't make sense. It's like you have to keep every single part of yourself private. So whether it is like you're talking to your friends, or you're like discussing something, or doing a video call, or like chatting, it needs to be private. Similarly, if you are like taking notes, storing information, or just putting your grocery list, like nobody has any right to look into that, use that, show you ads based on that, and it just gets worse. Like initially, you will think, okay, what will they do with my data? Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? And you can't guess that. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. Like you don't know who will come into the government. You don't know who the new CEO of this company you're trusting your data will be, and what changes they're going to make, and how they're going to use your data. So like if you're just talking about the notes part, from my perspective, since I am building this app, it's like notes are like the closest thing you have to like your personal database. Like anything you think of, and then you note it down on a notepad. That's part of like that's that's a part of you. And sometimes, and I think most times, you don't want to share it with anyone. So that's where like a private note taking solution helps. It keeps things private, it keeps things personal, and it doesn't let anyone enter where they shouldn't.
Perfect. It's a great answer. I like also how you tied it to it's not just about notes, it's really about
Yeah.
everything. It's good stuff. And kind of the last thing before we get into less technical things, from a strict privacy security perspective, what can a user expect from your service? If someone is in an abusive relationship and they need to take notes, is this the kind of audience you're trying to target? What kind of threat model are you looking at? What kind of privacy and security features do you have here to protect people outside of just the basic end-to-end encryption? Not that it's basic. I know it's incredibly complex, but like
Yeah, of
on
course.
top of the end-to-end encryption, is there anything else around the service that's designed to protect people? And who are those people? Pretty much, who is this targeted towards? I know it's a loaded question,
Okay,
but
yeah, so that is actually like that's if I'm like being very honest, like it is like Notesnook is targeted towards people who don't care about privacy. Seriously. Like because if someone comes who really cares about privacy, they will instantly understand why this is important, and they will instantly know, okay, how I need to protect myself. They will have a good know-how of how to keep themselves secure, how to use their email, where to use their email, how to anonymize it, uh, what kind of things they can put in what service. They will know. But for a person who is not like that well educated in the terms of digital privacy, I think that's where we are targeting, like that thing. Like from the first step to the last step, we want like a non-private user to feel like this is important, like this matters. So if you come like so the second part of your question is like what threat model we are trying to like target. So the main threat model is currently in the current versions we don't have like the deniability part of the privacy thing. So if you're using Notesnook right now in the current version, it's you can make nodes and then hide them, or you can't in a way you can't use our service and then say I didn't use it, or you can store the notes in such a way that later on you can just like say, okay, I didn't take these notes. I have no idea what this is. Currently, like very honest, like this is yeah. So the second part, yeah. So there's that, but I am like this is in our plans. Like this is a part of our plan to add this. So like the whole privacy things is like it's complex. We can't we have to focus on one thing, like setting the basics right, giving people the features they expect, and not just touting about like just shouting, okay, we're private, we're private, we're private, use us, use us, use us, and not giving people the service that they deserve. So we have to like balance those two things. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way of looking at it because if, let's just say, 95% of the world doesn't quite understand privacy, which I wouldn't be surprised if it's that high, and you're trying to sell them privacy, but they don't understand privacy, no one's going to use the service. And so if you're just selling them an alternative to what they use, but with safety, that might work quite a bit better, and it's overall a net win. It reminds me a lot. This is kind of off topic for the interview, but like I think the Beyond Meat CEO,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the meat alternatives, he specifically went on an interview and told people that his target audience is not vegans, it's meat eaters. 90% of the people who buy fake meat
Is
are meat eaters. And it's
yeah.
because it's an alternative to what they know and understand. And so I think it really ties into what you're offering here, which is you're trying to offer a direct alternative to mainstream services that people are using. And in doing so, you're just naturally giving them better privacy and security.
Yeah, it's so
So I like that.
yeah, yeah, that's like the main thing. Like we have to bring more people, like we have to make more people realize that this is important. Like this is not a joke. Like you can't like have no care about how you're storing your data and where you're storing it. So yeah, I think like this is very important.
So, kind of just to summarize Notesnook, is it safe to say that the goal is to give users an Evernote like experience, but with privacy included?
It can be said in that context, like if you're taking it strictly in the note-taking context, we can say that. But there's a big but to this, as in like that's not our target. Like we are like picturing ourselves at someday that we are going to have like this set of features that would allow all the note taking all the Evernote users to fully migrate without any issues, without any compromise on their productivity. Because like I think like the heavy note taking users, they are like uh, they like really care about their productivity and how the note taking app is actually helping them in how they take notes. And like there are some users who have like tens of gigabytes of notes on Evernote or on any other service. And for like if I go to them and say to them, come to Notesnook, they're immediately going to say, okay, we can come, but like, does this have this? Does it have that? So like that we have like actively we have that in our mind. Like we are actively saying, okay, this is where we lack. This is a feature that we lack, and we need to add that to the feature set that we already have. But after that, like when we reach that stage, and I am like really hopeful that we will reach that stage ultimately. We have to go beyond. We have to like take the extra steps. We have to implement every single feature in a way that is private. Like that's like the basic of it, everything. Like for example, we added attachments, uh, and we had to do it encrypted. Nobody has encrypted attachments except from us when we added it. Now I think a few other note-taking apps have also added those. But yeah, like that for example that. Or if we add something else, it will have to be in a private way, encrypted or in a deniable way, or in some other in some or for example, like this is a big feature. Like people have been asking for this feature, like collaboration between people. And like I'm still thinking about like how to do it in a private way and how to give users a
I'm
way
laughing
to
because my next question's about collaboration. That's why I'm laughing over here. Sorry,
yeah,
go keep going.
yeah, no worries. So yeah, like that feature, like collaboration on face value, it seems simple because like a lot, like nowadays, almost every other app has collaboration in some way. Like if you like, I was surprised, like a few apps that like it didn't even make sense for it to have collaboration. They had that, but like for us, we have to think it in a unique way due to some technical problems and some private problems. Yeah. So yeah, go on.
Yeah, it seems like no one's been able to quite nail collaboration, and I say this as someone who's explored every darn possible team collaborate.
Yeah,
And this is for our internal workflow on just our videos, and it's like 90% just writing scripts for videos, which isn't a complex
it is not.
workflow. It's writing notes, it's adding comments, it's having people collaborate on the document, and then just needing to export it into a proper format that other things like teleprompter apps can read. It's not a complex workflow, but everything we've used from CryptPad to OnlyOffice to Skiff, like all of these services just made us want to like tear our hair out because they just didn't work well. And so I always want to ask, like, when are we going to have a good collaboration software with end-to-end encryption that respects privacy and we can trust with security?
Yeah, so
So that's why I wanted to ask.
yeah, in that context, like if you take a look at the non-private apps, like those who are not end-to-end encrypted, they have like done quite a
Google,
good job.
perfect.
Yeah, Google
Yeah,
Google Docs, like everyone uses Google Docs, and like whenever they say, okay, we're gonna collaborate, they have the picture of Google Docs in their mind. So uh, if like this is like our like it has become quite a habit. We are like stealing features from other non-private apps. So whenever we like sit down and we say, okay, we're going to add this feature, the first thing we do is like, what is currently the best app that most people are using and most people are used to, and then we add it similar to that. Obviously, we can't like just copy paste it. Like it's just like we add it in a similar way. So, like, if someone comes from that app to our app, will have very, very, very less friction. Yeah. So, if like the
got it.
other
Yeah,
question,
that's
the
really
main question, I didn't answer the main question. Okay, so you're like when or if node collaboration is in the like, uh, I can't like I can't say like okay we're gonna add it like this is the next big thing, but it is constantly under discussion. You can just say that because it is a big feature. It is a very important feature. Like we constantly, like almost every day, it comes up in some way, in some form, and we have to like we're thinking of it in a lot of from a lot of angles, and I hope we will be able to crack it down. Actually, yeah.
yeah. It's I hope so because we're at the point now where we're considering Google Workspace Enterprise and rolling our own CSA. Just a minor correction, I meant CSE, which is client side encryption, which is a service offered by Google, which essentially allows you to roll your own encryption keys to protect an organization's data for their enterprise offering. This gives you many of the perks of maybe something like zero knowledge encryption within the Google suite, but it's pretty frustrating to roll yourself with Google Drive, which
Wow.
at least offers like some layer of encryption for your files, but like you're paying so much money and you have to host your own encryption key server, and this is just like ridiculous. And
This is a lot of
at that point, you might as
it's a
well
lot of
do
work.
Nextcloud, but then you're working with Nextcloud's collaboration features, which I think are terrible. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a tough subject.
I
I'm
think
not going to rant too much because that's
no.
not what this
Oh,
interview is about.
yeah. So like I think like the best thing like we can do like from Notesnook's perspective is like we can ask questions. So what problem like what is your current problem with the current state of collaboration in private note taking apps?
All of them have issues. None of them work efficiently enough for our workflow. which doesn't isn't again, it's not asking for much. It's just basic script writing. So uh it's mostly an efficiency thing. The last collaboration software we're using had terrible mobile applications and also terrible clients that made it awful to use day to day.
Okay.
And so if you're, yeah,
Yeah,
go
like
ahead.
okay, yeah, that's actually a very like great. I think I missed that from all of the interview, but like that was also one of the main things that we wanted to address in the whole, like not just the note taking space, just the whole app space. Like whenever you pick an app, uh, they don't have 100% or 99% feature parity across the clients. Like that's not their priority. They will have some features on desktop, they will have some features on the web app, some like very small amount of features on the mobile app. And that's mostly because of resources or whatever. Like there's a lot of reasons for that. But like this is like from day one we sat down, like if we're going to add a feature, we will make 100% sure that it is on every single client. And it works the same way. It's not like we take a lot of care into that. Like if you use one of our feature on one device and then go to the other device, it will work in the same way. And if we add collaboration, like that is the hardest part to crack down, like how to do it in a cross-platform way because of the from the form factor, and the other thing is the performance of it and the user experience. It has to be so smooth that most of the time you don't even realize that you're collaborating. Yeah, it just needs to get out of the way of your usual workflow. So yeah.
I believe it. And I don't want my complaining to come across as like, why don't people just do it? Because I like to think I have some kind of perspective on how challenging it is. It's just like we've been dealing with this for like 3 or 4 years
Uh,
now. And it's so frustrating now that I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so tired. So that's where the frustration comes from on my end. So I understand the challenges, and it's cool that you're working on that because um, I just want someone to do it for my own
yeah.
reasons. But I know that my reasons also, this specific use case is definitely a common one for a lot of people. I know that for a fact because this is what schools use. It's what people in work use. This is what people use on just a personal basis to collaborate with friends and family on just tons of things. And so, while it's a simple use case, it's a very common one that a
Yeah,
lot of people are dependent on.
I think
Yeah.
like as
Um,
the internet got more and more connected, people have like this has become the norm in like almost any app that has data in it. And uh, yeah, I think collaboration is kind of a must, but it has to be done in a good way for it to matter, like for it to actually be usable. It's not, we're not going to just
exactly.
add the collaboration feature to just check a mark on our to-do list. Like, okay, we did that, move on. No, we have to do it in a good
Exactly.
way.
It's better to not have the feature than to throw in a feature that causes headaches
Yeah,
for users.
yeah, exactly.
Um, just to finish this out, so where do you hope to go from here? You can share whatever you want. You don't have to give us your top secret plans. But what kind of stuff do you want to share with people on like what you're developing, where you see yourself going from here, and just any kind of challenges ahead of you?
Okay, so like the biggest challenge is obviously making people believe and trust Notesnook, and making people actually like the people who we are targeting, the people like who don't take privacy seriously, like getting to them. And like I have been in the like I have talked to some uh, Evernote users, and like to making them realize how important this privacy thing is kind of hard. Like that is currently a huge challenge, and I think like getting the word out and spreading the name of Notesnook, I think that will help. Obviously, that will help. Aside from that,
I
there are
meant to
technical
ask,
challenges.
is Notesnook open source? Sorry, is Notesnook open source? I meant to ask.
Oh yeah,
Just
yeah.
because so our audience.
Yeah, okay. I was getting to that. So like this was
Sorry.
our like yeah, yeah. So like in our plans, like, yeah, like if you did this interview a few months back, that was our like that was our goal, one of milestones to go open source. And the reason we didn't do it from the beginning was because like building something on the scale of Notesnook is not simple. And then to care about like the public facing part of the code and to care about all that, it would have been a lot of headache. So we reached a stage where we said, okay, we're done. I think like this is in a good state. Now we're ready to go open source. And then we went all in. And the community has been like, it was amazing. Like in the beginning, like on the first day of September, we went open source. And like in like 2 days we got 4,000 stars on GitHub. We got featured on like Hacker News. We got featured on It's False. It was amazing. That was I can like say that was the best decision of our like the whole journey. Yeah.
God, that's awesome. Sorry, I totally you're going there anyway, so feel free to just keep going on about like where you're going from here and the challenges.
Yeah, so the next big challenge is obviously technical, like the technical side of things. It's like if we before we add any feature, we have to ensure the reliability of the app, and we have had quite a bit of issues with the reliability. So if you ask me right now, like what is the goal? I think that right now the goal is to make Notesnook safe. It is safe right now. It is private and it is somewhat safe, but I want it to be safer. Safer, like safety and privacy, like there's a difference. Safety is like when you write a note in it, you have 100% you can 100% rely on that. Like it will always work. You will never lose your data, and your data is always safe. That has like that's right now that's our priority, and any feature that we are currently adding is to that. Like currently we're working on adding cloud backups, and we are adding snapshots. Snapshots is like it will work like if we will take encrypted backups on the server, and it will work like checkpoints. So at any time, you can go back and you can see what you did, and you can like restore yourself to that checkpoint. So in case you lose your data or you are recovering your password and something happens to your data, you can just quickly just go back to that point. And yeah, and then there are other things, other challenges like uh, making Notesnook more efficient, making it faster, making it like right now, our editor, which we changed a few months back, uh, it's okay, it's working well. It has some basic feature set, but we want to add extensions into it so people can come and build extensions at the scale of Obsidian or VS Code or something like that. So we're working on that as well, and extensions on the other on other parts of the Notesnook as well. I think I tweeted about that as well, like what I see as Notesnook being extensible. So like if I summarize it down, it will be like we want to increase the reliability. We want Notesnook to be extensible and safe and full of features and private, obviously. Yeah,
Got it. So the best of all worlds.
yeah, best of all worlds, exactly.
Um, well, I think that answers all the questions I have. So I really want to thank you for coming on and telling
Absolutely.
us about your service so our audience can be more in the loop about what you're offering. Just so everyone knows, these interviews are not sponsored or paid for. These are just me asking people questions because I know we get questions about that a lot. And so I want to thank you for taking your time to be here, and I want to thank
Absolutely.
everyone for listening.
Absolutely.
And
Thank you so much for giving
yeah,
me this opportunity. I was not expecting it, and this is huge for me and the whole team. And they've been really excited for this to, like go live and the result of that, because Techlore is right now, it is a huge community of all like people really trust the word of Techlore. So this was a huge opportunity for me. So thank you so much for that.
of course. And also, you should probably thank Tori, because Tori, our video editor, is she's the note taking nerd who's always trying to find note taking alternatives, and she's probably the one who reached out to me
Yeah,
first
yeah,
to get this
exactly. She
interview
did,
scheduled.
and thanks so much to her. I got this opportunity. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and I'm sure we'll keep in
absolutely.
touch.
Yeah, of course. Reach out anytime.
If you made it this far, I want to thank you for listening to this interview. Again, these interviews are not sponsored or paid for. These are just done to give you all insight into the projects that are putting things out for the privacy community. And if you enjoy these interviews and you made it this far, I'm going to kindly ask you to check out our Patreon, which is in a description, so that you can support things like this that we do entirely for free for all of you, so you can learn more about the projects in the privacy community. We also support Monero as well if you want to privately support us. That is all found in the Techlore support page, which you can also access down in the description. And if you're unable to do any of that, at least check out our communities and other ways to engage with ourselves or other people in the privacy community, as that's all very important stuff as well. Thank you all for watching again, and we'll see you next time on Techlore.